10 weeks of TED, week number 6, episode 6. And finally some sunshine and warmth has arrived here on the West Coast. Coldest spring I can ever remember, and winter too. So anyhow, an interesting week, an interesting episode in that it wasn't just about soccer, but what it was about in so many ways. How do you build successful teams, right? What is the composition of a successful high-performing team? Business, sport, doesn't matter. So without getting into the details of the episode, because it's, it wasn't so much about soccer, but more about the individual, some of the individual characters that they follow during the show. What I found interesting and what I want to focus on is the notion of, just to give it some context, the team is still underperforming, right? They're playing horribly. They're in Holland and Amsterdam playing a Dutch team. I think they get doored 5-0, something like that. They're dejected, they're flat, they're underperforming, they're not achieving to their potential. Ted feels flat, just things aren't going well, right? So the thing I appreciate about Ted, the coach here in this instance, is that he knows what the team needs and he also knows what the team doesn't need. In traditional coaching circles, what a lot of teams would do, a lot of coaches would do, especially hockey, is to do what they call a bag skate, right? Or to run lines in other sports until the athletes are sick, right? Until they've been punished enough to know that losing is wrong, and if you lose, I'm going to punish you. I would love to hear the thinking behind that on from a sports psych, right? And yet that bizarre, archaic ritual still lives today. Ted knows that's the last thing his team needs, is to be punished for this. They're not happy about it. They don't need the message that you're not worthy and that if you underperform, I'm going to punish you. It does nothing to serve the team culture. Instead, what the team does need is a change, to mix things up, right? To change the context of the team, to do things that are different in terms of how they perform together. And so, fellow runner, awesome. And and so what he does is he gives them a night out on the town instead, and he tells them no curfew tonight, back by 10 o'clock tomorrow, and yeah, be on the bus at 10 a.m. And awesome. They cheer, they're excited, off they go. And so the team spends the good part of the night deciding what the hell they want to do. But Ted takes his own medicine. He knows he's flat as well. He knows he and his fellow coach need to shift things up. And so they try some tea that's going to alter their state. And Ted's reluctant, but he tries it in the end, goes out. And he has this incredible experience where, I mean, it's obviously a television show and it's fantasy, but he has somebody explain to him how triangles work in basketball and the notion of creating a fluid pattern of performance, of execution on the court. And he thinks to himself, well, what the heck? I mean, if it can work in basketball, why can't we create that fluid state in our team and incorporate that into our field strategy? So he spends the rest of the night brainstorming and writing notes and drawing up patterns and plays and all this sort of stuff, with the triangle being the foundation of those plays. Sees his other coach the next morning and says, hey, what do you think of this? Throws it to him. He goes, oh, it's already been done. And he goes, but it doesn't mean we can't do it. It doesn't mean we can't do it. And it turns out the altered state he thought he had didn't happen. The tea they drank was a dud. And so he came to that place on his own. Just thinking that he was in an altered state was enough to inspire some different thinking. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out, right? And it'll be interesting to see how it plays out with the team too, because the point I want to make with that is that often when we think of high performance, we think of grinding and hard work and perseverance and skill development, knowledge and more experience and all that kind of stuff. And it's all important. What we tend not to talk about is joy and fun, right? Fun is an integral part of high performance. The best crews I ever coached had a jokester in all of those crews who had the capability of lightening the mood in a heartbeat. And that was important to team culture, to team chemistry. I was not that guy as a young athlete. I was the guy head down working hard, but I needed somebody to lighten me up. And so Ted recognizes that, right? He needs to lighten that team and let them have some fun and joy, right? I mean, goodness, it's part of our survival mechanism. It's why eating food and staying warm and having sex feels good because it helps keep us alive as we propagate our species. So the same is true in high performance. Fun is an important part of team building. If you have a culture that's all about, sort of burning the candle at both ends and staying up all night, like, okay, I realize we've normalized that and celebrated it, and it's potentially true at times, but fun and joy needs to come into a team culture if it's ever going to discover what it's capable of. I've just, take it from someone who lived on the other side of that, who was a grinder. When I realized the power of fun and joy, as Ted does, I opened up the teams that I coach to higher performance, period. And I think as leaders, as business owners, as executives, as coaches, as teachers, we can bring those lessons to our teams as well, okay? So really neat piece. I found it fascinating. It'll be really cool to see how it plays out. Okay, Oakley, we're gonna finish our run and have a great rest of the week. Enjoy this week's episode. Take care of each other and take care of yourselves. And most importantly, bring some fun into your life, okay? On purpose. Go create moments of fun for you and your team and see what happens, okay? See you, everyone. Bye-bye.